All women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public, because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children. Men will die for their wives and children, and God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts, the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy, and the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Feminismus delendus est. Stolen Attention, New Economy of Social Networks, written by Conrad Riker, available now. Links in description. Stolen Attention, a field guide for men who still notice reality. The blood libel of breakfast, exposing the gustatory lie, gamma bias, and the Marxist assault on your citadel. You open your cupboard, reach for the cinnamon, and realize you are holding a shackle of colonial oppression, or so says the high priestess of grievance studies, Dr. Winona. This is not a spice. It is a rhetorical weapon designed to hijack your neural circuitry through an autoregressive loop of guilt and submission. We are witnessing the systematic deconstruction of Western reality, where the irreducible axis of propaganda, stade, knowledge, meaning, feeling, duty, power, sanction, and immunity is deployed against you like a scalpel in the hands of a sadist. They strip words of their etymological roots to inflate meaning until a simple stick of bark becomes an act of violence, turning your feelings of comfort into evidence of a crime you did not commit. It is a solipsistic prison where the victim's distress is the only law, and your prosperity is the proof of your guilt. Consider the vilification of the anti-theft backpack, a grotesque monument to their hatred of boundaries. To a rational man, a lock is an extension of his sovereignty, a physical assertion that the product of his labor belongs to him and him alone. To the Marxist, it is a barricade against the dispossessed proletariat, a polite euphemism for a mob that wants to loot the citadel you built. They demand you open the zippers and let the world in, which is nothing more than a request for you to dismantle your defenses and allow the parasite to consume the host. This is the war on male competence. If you protect what is yours, you are the oppressor. If you surrender it, you are merely doing your duty to the collective. They frame the thief as a revolutionary hero fighting hoarding, while the man who creates value is framed as a hoarder deserving of expropriation. Beneath the hysteria over pumpkin pies lies the cis-heteronormative nuclear family, the last redoubt of sanity against the encroaching void. They want to burn the recipe because the recipe is tradition, and tradition is the DNA of a people that refuses to be dissolved into a gray sludge of globalist conformity. This is cultural inversion, where order is framed as oppression and chaos is marketed as liberation. They tell you to smash the cinnamon and reject the false consciousness of holiday spirit. But what they are really demanding is that you smash the foundations of your own civilization so they can trample on the rubble. We are going to dissect this lunacy line by line, using the cold steel of logic and the trivium to dismantle the gamma bias that portrays you as the villain of history simply for enjoying a warm drink in a safe home.
Bunkum article by a feminist PhD. Your comfort, their catastrophe. Unpacking the blood in your spice rack. By Dr. Winona, feminist, Marxist PhD. As we approach the season of hollow consumption and performative gratitude, we must confront the uncomfortable materials that scaffold our privilege. It is not enough to simply acknowledge our complicity. We must feel the crushing weight of the structural violence that permeates every facet of our domestic lives. We are witnessing the manifestations of gustatory settler colonialism, a systemic process whereby the global North extracts not just resources, but the very soul of the global South, commodifying it into festivity for the oppressor class. Consider the cinnamon stick. It sits innocuously in your mug, a brown rod of colonial conquest. To you, it is a flavor. To history, it is a testament to the extraction of labor, the erasure of indigenous autonomy, and the imposition of Western taste buds as the universal standard. When you drop that stick into your cider, you are not just spicing a drink, you are participating in a zero-sum reshuffle of opportunity, where your momentary sensory pleasure is directly subsidized by the continued immiseration of the people of the global South. To consume without interrogation is to enact violence. This violence is armored by the objects we use to protect our hoarded wealth. Take the anti-theft backpack, a grotesque monument to late-stage capitalism's paranoia. This product is not merely a bag, it is a physical manifestation of the fear of redistribution. The zippers that lock against the other, the fabric that slashes against the thief, who is the thief but the dispossessed proletariat fighting back against the hoarding of resources. By wearing this armor, you are declaring that your property rights supersede the basic human right of the marginalized to exist without the crushing weight of poverty. You are building walls with your back. You are gatekeeping resources that should be communal. The safety you feel is stolen from the collective. And what do we carry in these fortresses of exclusion? The ingredients for holiday recipes. These are not culinary instructions, they are scripts of conformity, designed to enforce a singular, hegemonic narrative of family and tradition that silences the diverse tapestry of marginalized experiences. The traditional holiday meal is a ritual of cultural inversion where the order of the patriarchal nuclear family is celebrated rather than dismantled. Every pumpkin pie is a brick in the wall of the cis-heteronormative state. Every secret family recipe is an act of epistemic violence, locking away knowledge and gatekeeping culture against the intersectional outsider. We must reject the false consciousness of holiday spirit. It is a narcotic designed to pacify us into accepting the status quo. The cinnamon stick is a shackle. The backpack is a barricade. The recipe is a manifesto of exclusion. Our duty is to dismantle these symbols. We must engage in a radical reshuffling of cultural power, where the comfort of the oppressor is sacrificed for the liberation of the oppressed. If you feel defensive, good. That feeling is your privilege unraveling. If you feel attacked, that is the sound of your hegemony being challenged. There is no neutrality. There is only the struggle against the embedded fascism of our daily lives. This holiday season, do not just eat, do not just shop. Do not just lock your bags, burn the recipe, smash the cinnamon, open the zippers. Let the world in or admit that you are the warden of your own privilege. The semiotics of spite, deconstructing the linguistic weaponry of cultural Marxism. While the suicide rate for men in the West hovers at a catastrophic 4 times that of women, and family courts systematically strip fathers of their children and assets in 70% of divorce filings. Dr. We know a feminist Marxist PhD demands we agonize over the moral implications of a cinnamon stick. This is the essence of epistemic gating, a priesthood of guilt that requires you to abandon the empirical reality of male suffering, the disposability of the male body and the betrayal of the gynocentric state to embrace a hallucinated reality where you're mourning. Cider is an act of structural violence. She claims neutrality is impossible to destroy the concept of objectivity itself, replacing the pursuit of wisdom with the enforcement of dogma. This is not philosophy, it is a linguistic mugging, a frantic attempt to realign the moral universe so that the Western man, already drowning in a sea of misandry and legal oppression, is cast as the ultimate villain for engaging in voluntary trade. Look at the language, gustatory settler colonialism. This is semantic inflation designed to bypass your critical faculties and strike directly at your amygdala. In the trivium, grammar dictates that words must correspond to reality, but the left acts as if they can rewrite the code of the cosmos by inventing neologisms. By equating the purchase of a spice, an act of mutual benefit where value is exchanged for value, with colonial conquest. She strips the word violence of its etymological roots in the Latin vis, meaning force. Trade is not force. Eating is not conquest, but to the solipsistic mind of the cultural Marxist, my feelings define reality. If Dr. Winona feels oppressed by your pumpkin pie, then your pie is a weapon of mass destruction. This is the psychological profile of a toddler cloaked in academic regalia, demanding the world bend to her emotional whims. She employs the irreducible axis of propaganda generation with machine-like precision. Starosits is assigned asymmetrically. You are the oppressor, the global south is the moral patient. Canaljas gated. Only those interrogating their privilege can see the truth. Meaning is inflated until a stick of bark becomes a shackle. Feeling is treated as the highest proof of truth. We must feel the crushing weight. Duty is unilateral. You must dismantle your comfort. Power is frozen. You are always the powerful abuser. Sanction is the threat of moral ostracization. Immunity is the final seal. If you criticize this, you are simply proving your privilege. This is an autoregressive loop of narcissism, a closed system where the only allowed output is submission. Observe the grotesque application of gamma bias in her analysis of the anti-theft backpack. She frames the thief, the dispossessed proletariat, as a romanticized victim fighting back against hoarding, while the backpack owner is a paranoid warden. This is the standard leftist trick, stripping agency from the victim to infantilize them, while hyper-agentizing the oppressor to demonize them. The thief is not a dispossessed warrior. He is a criminal violating property rights. The backpack owner is not hoarding wealth. He is protecting the product of his labor, the very life force that the state and the collectivists seek to drain from him. This ideology hates the very concept of boundaries because boundaries imply the sovereignty of the individual, specifically the male individual, against the collective hive. Consider her demand to burn the recipe and smash the cinnamon. This is a call for the destruction of tradition, kinship, and heritage. She attacks the traditional holiday meal as a manifesto of exclusion, ignoring that these rituals are the glue holding together the fraying scraps of Western civilization. While men are checking out of society, unable to form families due to a skewed sexual market and punitive laws, the left is busy attacking the few vestiges of family life that remain. The holiday spirit is not a narcotic. It is a respite from the crushing burden of carrying a civilization that despises you. To attack the family dinner is to attack the fundamental unit of human survival, driven by a spite that can only be described as a hatred of life itself. The entire argument collapses under the weight of a simple syllogism, the weapon of logic that the postmodernist fears most. Let us apply formal logic to Dr. Winona's premise. Premise 1. All human interaction and consumption is zero-sum violence, Marxist dialectic. Premise 2. Dr. Winona is engaging in human interaction and consumption by writing and publishing this article. Conclusion. Dr. Winona is enacting violence. If her premises are true, she is not a liberator, she is a warlord. The only way she escapes this logical trap is by claiming the magic cloak of immunity, asserting that her status as a critic grants her a special dispensation from the laws of physics and morality she applies to everyone else. This is the head I win, tails you lose dynamic of the cultural Marxist, a game where the rules change every second to ensure you lose. Finally, notice the sanction mechanism at the end. If you feel defensive, good. That is the sound of your hegemony being challenged. This is a self-sealing ideology, a cult tactic designed to sever your connection to your own perception of reality. If you argue, you are guilty. If you stay silent, you are complicit. This is the double bind that drives men to despair. They are telling you that your survival instinct, your desire to keep your backpack zipped, your money in your bank, and your traditions intact is a pathology. Do not fall for it. This is not justice, it is a rhetorical shakedown. They want you to open the zippers so they can loot your pockets and your soul, leaving you with nothing but the empty comfort of having been a good ally in your own destruction. Reject the guilt. Keep the zippers up. Enjoy the cinnamon. Arthur Schopenhauer once remarked that the discovery of truth is prevented more effectively, not by the false appearance things present, nor by the weakness of our reasoning powers, but by preconceived opinions and illogical conclusions drawn from them. We see this will to deceit in full display in Dr. Winona feminist Marxist's unhinged screed, which attempts to convince you that the cinnamon stick in your cider is a brown rod of colonial conquest. This is not analysis. It is a linguistic weaponization of guilt, designed to bypass your rational faculties and attack your very soul. We must employ the trivium, grammar, logic, and rhetoric to dissect this gustatory settler colonialism nonsense and expose it for what it is, a solipsistic tantrum dressed up as academic discourse. The woman is essentially telling you that your sensory pleasure is a moral emergency, a classic maneuver of what we identify as the asymmetric moral status, where her feeling defines your reality. If she feels oppressed by your spice, you are by definition an oppressor. This is the logic of the playground, weaponized by the university. To understand the con, we must look at the irreducible axis of propaganda generation: satis, nolgi, meaning, feeling, duty, power, sanction, and immunity. Dr. Winona initiates this loop by establishing an asymmetric status. She, as the voice of the global South, occupies the moral high ground, while you, the spice consumer, are the oppressor class. This allows for identity-gated knowledge. Only those initiated into the cult of critical theory can interrogate the spice rack properly. Once she holds the keys to knowledge, she engages in semantic inflation, a catastrophic corruption of grammar. She takes the word violence, which etymologically derives from the Latin vis, meaning force or physical strength, and inflates it to mean voluntary exchange. By equating the purchase of cinnamon with structural violence, she strips the word of its objective meaning, making communication impossible. This semantic sabotage allows her to claim that your breakfast is a zero-sum reshuffle of opportunity, ignoring the fundamental economic reality that trade is a positive-sum game. The farmer in Sri Lanka or Indonesia is not immiserated by your purchase. He is empowered by your demand for his labor. But such facts are barred by her epistemic gates because the goal is not truth but submission. Next, we see the deployment of gamma bias and the infantilization of the other. In Dr. Winona's narrative, the dispossessed proletariat attempting to steal from your backpack is not a moral agent with the capacity to choose right from wrong, but a tragic victim of circumstance. While you, the Western man, are the sole moral agent responsible for the state of the world. This is the hallmark of toxic gynocentrism applied to geopolitics, the erasure of male agency in the victim and the total imposition of responsibility on the perpetrator. She frames your anti-theft backpack as a grotesque monument to paranoia and a fortress of exclusion. Let us apply a syllogism to dismantle this absurdity. Premise 1. Property rights are necessary for civilization. Premise 2. Theft is a violation of property rights. Conclusion. Defending one's property is a defense of civilization. However, the leftist logic operates on a corrupted premise that property is theft and that the oppressed have a moral claim to your labor. This leads to the unilateral duty she assigns to you to open the zippers and let the world take what is yours. This is a demand for your civilized suicide. It is a demand that you revert to a state of nature, where the strong take from the weak, yet she frames you, the producer, the builder, as the parasite. It is a deliberate inversion of reality, a tactic designed to make you relinquish your power. The rhetorical climax of her essay reveals the self-sealing immunity of the ideological cult. She writes, "If you feel defensive, good. That feeling is your privilege unraveling. If you feel attacked, that is the sound of your hegemony being challenged." This is the sanction mechanism in its purest form. By pre-framing any logical rebuttal as a symptom of privilege, she creates a closed loop of unassailable dogma. If you agree with her, you are woke. If you disagree, you are defensive. This is a textbook cult tactic, isolating the target from reality and severing their social support unless they submit. It is exactly like the irrational dynamics of a high-conflict personality or a manipulative partner in a divorce court. There is no way to win because the rules of evidence are shifted to favor the accuser's feelings. This feeling as truth epistemology is the death of wisdom. It posits that the internal emotional state of the accuser is the ultimate arbiter of justice. It is narcissism masquerading as sociology. It demands that you reject the objective reality of your senses, that the cinnamon is just a spice, the backpack is just a bag, and instead inhabit her delusional fantasy where every molecule of your existence is an act of aggression. Finally, we must expose the syllogism of absurdity that underpins her entire worldview and ultimately refutes it. Let us formalize her hidden premises. Premise 1. All human interaction is zero-sum violence, Marxist dialectic. Premise 2. Writing an article is a human interaction designed to influence others. Conclusion. Dr. Winona's article is an act of violence. If we accept her premise that neutrality is impossible and that all consumption is a shackle, then her production of this text is also a shackle, commodifying the struggle of the Global South to advance her own academic career. She is participating in the very performative economy she condemns, selling her guilt-tripping prose to a likely bourgeois readership. She is the warden of her own privilege, locking the door of logic to keep the inmates compliant. The only escape from this mental prison is to reclaim the transcendentals of truth, beauty, and goodness. We must reject the solipsism of the left and embrace the objective reality that trade is not theft, that self-defense is not paranoia, and that your enjoyment of a holiday meal is not a crime against humanity. Break the spell. Reject the narrative of spite. Eat the cinnamon. Lock your bag. Live free. We must now pierce the veil of their moral posturing and expose the biological reality of the leftist mindset. It is the screech of the dependent demanding the slave's gratitude. They do not hate the spice trade because of colonialism. They hate it because it highlights their own inability to provide. This is the eternal struggle between the productive male and the redistributive grievance monger. To fully grasp this piggyback strategy, where the parasite eats the host while lecturing it on morality, we must invoke the philosophy of a man who understood the darkness of the human will better than any. The citadel and the parasite, property, family, and the war on male competence. Arthur Schopenhauer once noted that the less intelligent a man is, the less mysterious existence seems to him, but there is a darker corollary to this truth regarding the intellectual parasite. The less competent a creature is at generating surplus, the more it despises the hand that feeds it. We see this perfectly illustrated in Dr. Winona, feminist Marxist, PhD, and her hysterical diatribe against the simple, humble cinnamon stick, a piece of bark she inflates into a brown rod of colonial conquest. This is textbook gamma bias. Satis is assigned to the Global South as the moral patient, while the West is framed solely as the moral agent oppressor. Meaning is inflated so that a voluntary trade in spices becomes structural violence, and feeling is elevated above logic, demanding we feel the crushing weight of a transaction that actually lowered infant mortality and increased lifespans globally. Dr. Winona is engaging in what I call the piggyback strategy of cultural critique. She utilizes the high-trust, high-surplus infrastructure of the West, the very electricity powering her laptop, the logistics networks shipping her organic quinoa, and the liberal academic tradition protecting her free speech to attack the foundational competence that built it. The cinnamon stick is not a shackle. It is a trophy of the division of labor. By pathologizing trade, she exposes not the sins of the West, but her own fundamental ignorance of evolutionary psychology. As David Buss would elucidate, human cooperation is a strategic adaptation. We trade because it benefits both parties. To frame this mutual benefit as a zero-sum reshuffle is to reject the biological reality of civilization itself. She is a parasite screaming that the host's immune system, its borders, its property rights, its oppressor class competence, is evil because it prevents the parasite from devouring the host entirely. This parasitic hostility toward boundaries is nowhere more apparent than in her vilification of the anti-theft backpack. She describes it as a grotesque monument to late-stage capitalism's paranoia and a fortress of exclusion. Let us apply the trivium here. Grammar defines the backpack as a tool. Logic dictates that a tool is an extension of the user's will to protect their property. Rhetoric reveals that Dr. Winona fears the backpack not because it is paranoid, but because it is an assertion of sovereignty. To a rational man, a lock is not an act of violence against the poor. It is the physical manifestation of responsibility without authority flipped right side up. It is the reclamation of authority over one's own labor. The leftist impulse to smash the lock is the impulse of the toddler who screams when the parent puts a cover on the electrical outlet. They view your property not as an extension of your life and time, but as a communal resource they are entitled to access. When she writes, "Who is the thief but the dispossessed proletariat fighting back?" she is engaging in semantic inflation to turn a criminal into a freedom fighter. She rejects the concept of private property because she rejects the reality of male competence. The backpack represents the citadel, the enclosed space where a man keeps what is his safe from the chaos of the outside world. By demanding you open the zippers, she is demanding you lower your defenses and submit to the entropy of the mob. It is a demand for civilizational suicide disguised as moral superiority. The safety you feel is not stolen from the collective. It is earned through competence, foresight, and the maintenance of order, the very things the left seeks to dismantle. Furthermore, this assault on the anti-theft backpack dovetails perfectly into the attack on the holiday recipe and the traditional family meal. Dr. Winona calls the family meal a script of conformity designed to enforce the cis-heteronormative state. This reveals the true target of the Marxist grievance mongers, the hearth. Why attack the grandmother's recipe for pumpkin pie? Because the family unit is the primary competitor to the state for the loyalty of the individual. If you are fed, clothed, and loved by your kin, you do not need the state to be your provider and protector. To destroy the man's allegiance to his tribe, they must first destroy his history. By labeling tradition epistemic violence, they attempt to sever you from your ancestors. They want you rootless, isolated, and dependent on the collective. A man without a history is a man who can be easily controlled. They call it gatekeeping culture. We call it preserving civilization. The secret family recipe is not an act of exclusion, it is an act of love. It is the passing down of wisdom from one generation to the next, a transfer of biological and cultural capital that the left finds offensive because they have no capital of their own, only resentment. They accuse you of building a wall, but you are simply building a home. The radical reshuffling of cultural power they desire is not liberation, it is an orphaning of the human soul. This brings us to the redefinition of theft itself, which is perhaps the most insidious part of this ideological poison. The article argues that the thief is merely fighting back against hoarding, and that property rights supersede the moral right of the marginalized to exist. This is a classic example of asymmetric meaning and duty. The meaning of theft is changed from taking what is not yours to rectifying imbalance, and the duty is placed entirely on the producer to surrender his assets. If the fruit of your labor is not yours by right, you are a slave. It is that simple. If a man spends 8 hours of his limited life welding a frame or coding a program, the product of that time is his life incarnate. To take it from him for the collective is to steal his time, his energy, and his life. Dr. Winona argues for the moral right of the marginalized to exist by violating the rights of another, which is a logical contradiction. You cannot cure a lack by creating a void. This is not justice. It is a rationalization for parasitism. It is the demand that the productive male be dismembered to feed the collective, which really just means the incompetent and the political class that feeds on their votes. They demonize the hoarding of resources, ignoring that hoarding is just another word for saving for the future, a distinctly male long-term strategy essential for survival. Women consume in the present, men invest for the future. This essay is a demand to consume the male's future in the present for fleeting dopamine hits. Ultimately, the command to smash the cinnamon and burn the recipe represents an embrace of entropy, nature's drift toward chaos. Those unable to compete seek to flatten the landscape by demolishing the accomplishments of the capable. When all recipes are destroyed, everyone's food becomes equally bland. Egalitarianism emerges from universal ruin. This captures the core of the leftist assault on capability. Unable to build, they demolish. Unable to create, they deconstruct. Unable to match the male's capacity for constructing a fortress of security and prosperity, they attempt to manipulate him into tearing it down piece by piece. If you feel defensive, good, she writes, employing a rhetorical tactic to preemptively silence reason. If you feel attacked, she claims, this confirms your guilt. This represents a self-contained belief system, a sealed loop of immunity where opposing views hold no validity because disagreement itself demonstrates your oppression. This mirrors abuser psychology. You cannot negotiate with those who view your very existence as aggression. You cannot reason with individuals who consider a spice rack a crime scene. The red pill reality, you owe them nothing. Your comfort represents no offense. It flows from your competence. Your boundaries aren't obstacles. They define your identity, establish your fortress, secure your belongings, preserve your knowledge for future generations. This constitutes masculine duty. Allow them to rage in the darkness outside. You have a civilization to uphold. Dr. Wynona's hysteria over a cinnamon stick is not merely an error in economic literacy, it is a confession of her own spiritual sterility. When she looks at a festive table, she sees a crime scene because she lacks the capacity to create, only to deconstruct. This is the terminal stage of the cultural Marxist pathology, a hatred for the competence that builds the very floor she stands on. She demands you unzip your backpack and open your borders not because she cares about the dispossessed, but because she seeks to weaponize their misery to dismantle your sovereignty. The anti-theft backpack is not a symbol of paranoia. It is the totem of the rational man who understands that in a world of takers, the builder must lock his doors to survive the onslaught of the entitled. She frames your desire for safety as violence, because safety is the prerequisite for freedom, and freedom is the one thing the collectivist cannot abide. We have now stripped the leftist narrative naked, revealing the autoregressive loop of asymmetric status and gated knowledge that sustains it. They inflate the meaning of a stick of bark to colonial conquest to justify their one-way duty. You must surrender, they must consume. They use feeling as a weapon, claiming your defense is proof of your guilt, a self-sealing immunity that renders their ideology unfalsifiable and their logic circular. Do not be fooled by the academic jargon or the moral posturing. This is the language of the parasite attempting to guilt the host into digestion. They hate your traditions, your nuclear family, and your property because these are the strongholds of identity that the state cannot easily penetrate. By pathologizing the cis-heteronormative meal, they are trying to starve you of your history so you will beg to be fed by their ideology. You stand now on the other side of the looking glass, armed with the irrefutable logic of the trivium and the cold, hard facts of biological reality. You see that the blood in your spice rack is a fabrication designed to make you accept responsibility without authority, a gamma bias that maximizes female and minority victimhood while minimizing male value and sacrifice. The statistics do not lie, whether we are talking about the suicide rate of discarded men or the cuckoldry rate that mocks the very concept of the social contract. Do not burn the recipe, guard it with your life. Do not smash the cinnamon, savor it as the fruit of high-trust cooperation. Lock your zippers tight. The comfort they despise is the product of your ancestral genius, and you owe them no apology for it. Go forth and build the citadel, knowing that your sanity is the only weapon they fear. And now the sponsored book introduction. Stolen Attention, New Economy of Social Networks. My attention shattered years ago. Scrolling, clicking, dopamine hits. Modern life turned me into a twitchy ghost of what men once were. I watched my focus bleed out while society called my masculinity toxic for existing and weak for feeling. Sound familiar? That's why I wrote this book. If distractions gut your purpose, if you're sick of being told your strength is a flaw, this is your lifeline. They stole your attention to make you docile. Social media isn't just addictive. It's a Marxist trap designed to erase masculine virtue. Feminists and leftists weaponize distraction to collapse families, corrupt truth, and paint men as villains. I lived it, I fought back. In these pages, you'll learn to shatter their lies with Spartan discipline, biblical clarity, and unbreakable persistence. This book is for warriors, real men who crave truth, not coddling. If you revere Western tradition, logic, stoicism, God-given roles, you'll find fuel here. We dissect everything. How toxic masculinity is a feminist hoax, why gender ideology denies biology's divine code, and how cultural Marxism echoes Satan's playbook. You'll see why societies that abandon patriarchy rot. Look at Detroit. You'll master focus like desert monks and persistence like Edison. Non-targets. Stop reading. Now, if you think masculinity is oppressive, if you cheer when boys are drugged for acting male, if you worship victimhood, close this book. Go knit a pronoun flag. You'll hate what's coming. Unapologetic defense of fathers, leaders, and the red pill awakening. We name the enemy: feminism, Marxism, the NPC horde. No mercy here. Inside, you'll reclaim what's yours. We break down the 10,000-hour grind to build character, the prayer protocols that slice through noise, and the fatherhood mandate Abraham modeled. Ever feel trapped in the matrix? We rip off the blue pill. You'll confront suffering like Job and lead like Washington. Your legacy starts when you reject distraction and embrace your role. Protector, patriarch, immortal. Buy this book. Read it. Then go build something that outlasts the decay.
Stolen Attention: New Economy of Social Networks, written by Conrad Reiche. Buy now, links in description.